Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. God, where did November go? Yes, I'm still looking at green grass, even though I'm supposed to be looking at snow. We have not had any snow out here for God, I don't know how long now. So, no, I don't live in California. I wish I did. But that being said, because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing during my class, I, as a result, got a big fat F. Now, this big fat F hopefully won't show up on my final transcript. If it does, it actually won't, because if I get the big fat F as my final grade, I will retake the class and get a big fat A. Now, that being said, I am cutting back on my podcasting for 2018 and 2019 to one interview a week on Wednesday mornings. I'll try and publish those interviews on Tuesdays so that Mel and I could have our conversations on Thursdays, so I could still keep it to the Tuesday and Thursday schedule. And so today, Mel is actually going to interview me on self-publishing, and then we're going to actually talk about the news that happened yesterday. Actually, it happened Monday, but didn't break until yesterday. Matt Lauer, who, for those of you who don't know, was one of the top journalists in the country, co-anchored the Today Show for many years. Well, anyway, he decided to do sexual harassment to, I believe, 3 young women. They say it's 1, but Halpern Bizarre yesterday said it's actually 3, and he got fired as a result. So I'm going to give my feelings on that, not as a viewer of the Today Show, but as a fellow journalist and me walking into this career that's already been settled and done. But first we're going to talk about self-publishing, Mel and I, on the liner note. So you guys get the dose of self-publishing for the second time today, actually, because I already did an interview with a person who self-publishes his own books. And so you guys get the other perspective of self-publishing and why I consider myself a full-time writer and not educator anymore.
Yes. Very, very important topics today. So self-publishing, that's what you want to start with right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I was thinking about this the other day driving around about writing my book. Okay, if you were to name the top 3 to 5 must-do things in the process of writing a book all the way to self-publishing, what would they be, Wynn?
Well, number 1 would come up with good content. Number 2, I can't emphasize enough, editing, because every Tom and Dick and Harry could publish a book on Kindle, publish a book on Amazon, and we'll get to that in a minute. And I just learned this morning that if you are not careful, Amazon could come away and take away your content and possibly suspend your account. So basically, what's going to happen with me is while I'm focusing on school, while I'm cutting back on the podcast, I'm actually going to focus more on my books and creating good content and getting them edited extremely well, because I don't want Amazon to come and find a young woman with cerebral palsy, and yet people say this book is unreadable and I don't like this book, and they flag me, and so they alert Amazon. Yes, and Amazon is the biggest company, so that's what I'm going to focus on. And when I learned that, I was shocked because I always said from the beginning, editing is the key. And my third request is, if you can afford it, get a cover designer if you can also afford it. My fourth request is to have someone format the books correctly, because Amazon takes MOBI files, the rest of them takes EPUB files, and Smashwords takes their own file. I don't know what Smashwords takes, but Smashwords actually requires a styling guide, and I finally myself hired a formatter that all she does is format books. She doesn't do editing. She doesn't do cover design. She doesn't do anything else but formatter. And now I know people that edit books along with formatting books, and that could be a little bit cheaper, but I think when you throw too many cooks in the kitchens, it's a disaster and a half. And I tried to format my books myself, and as of today, November 31st, 2017, I have decided I'm only writing books. I'm only publishing them when they're high quality enough to miss Lynn's standards, you know. And so I won't be necessarily publishing books as often as you guys think I will. I will publish books on my own time unless I work with a publisher, which one of my books will be worked with a publisher, and I'll mention that at the end, why I decided to do this book. And so you guys get a sneak peek of two of my next books. And so because I learned the hard way that a view from my fabulous teaching desk was a disaster and a half, and I only have sold one copy, believe it or not. So I said, I give up. I put my hands up and said, I give up. I create the content and then ship it off to other people to help me become a New York Times best-selling author. And I am lucky enough that I have a ghostwriter. Now, what a ghostwriter does is they add words to the manuscript, or you can hire a ghostwriter to write your book. You just tell them what you want. I did that with Icon the Wind. That didn't work. So now what I'm doing, this ghostwriter, is I'm giving her the outline of the story I want. I write stories, and then I ship them off to her. She makes them look all pretty. I ship them off to then my editor. My editor does her magic, whether it's a simple line edit or the magic of her making suggestions. This book will be a simple line edit, and then the next book will be her making suggestions, and then I'll go back in with my ghostwriter and add those suggestions to make the book even stronger, and then I will send it off to my formatter. And while this is all being done, my cover designer will design the covers, and yeah. So I have people on the East Coast, as of we're recording this podcast, feverishly working on my books, and I have my formatter, the only formatter who's close to me, is in Arizona. And the rest are on the East Coast and on the West Coast in Canada.
That is fantastic information. Fantastic information. So I recall, I think an episode or so ago, we were talking about goals for the upcoming year. You had planned on writing like 20 books or something like that. Is that changed now that you're going to narrow it down?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's still not changed. I still plan to write 20 books, but because I want this to be my full-time income, and I want this to be my passion / my full-time income. That way I don't feel like I'm working. At my teaching job, I actually feel like I'm working, and so I don't want to feel like I'm working due to my spinal fusion, which I'm going to actually write about in a book, and half the stuff you guys don't even know. I briefly touched on my spinal fusion in 2006 in I Come a Win, because I was still in shock. I was writing that book right after my mom died. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I wrote I Win in Haze, and I looked at the original manuscript again today, and eventually I'll rewrite I Win now that I'm older and wiser, and I'll rewrite I Win, I'll rework I Win. But the reason why I looked at the original manuscript that I was trying to format it. So I still have the original manuscript on my phone, and this is when Siri first came out, and Siri was on the iPhone, and now Siri could be found on all Mac laptops and all iPads and iPhones. And so, yeah. And so, do I think writing a book is a good form of grief therapy? Yes, I do. Would I do it in the way I did it? No, because I didn't know half the stuff I know now about self-publishing. I would have given I Win 2 years if I was going to do it all again. And granted, I did it based off when a person's medically induced coma, and so I took that and ran with it, because the person who I was talking to was actually my biological mom, and I knew she was dying before anyone else did. But when would I do I Win in a year? No, I would probably give myself 2 years. But yes.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, I didn't hear you mention anything about audiobooks. Is that something that you're going to be pursuing at all? Converting to audiobooks?
I do have my books on audio tape. I'm after when the Heart of Scoliosis comes out, because scoliosis is such a common disease and people can get it without CP too. I am going to narrate that one. I have a narrator for this one. I have a narrator for the view from my fabulous teaching desk. She and I just have to communicate the times and communicate the stuff I asked her to do. But I'll be, as soon as the Heart of Scoliosis comes out, I'll be narrating that one myself, because it's a common disease. It's not like CP, which is also a common disease, but you can get, any able-bodied person could get scoliosis.
Right. You know, it's I have quite a few. I mean, not a lot, but I have enough audiobooks on my phone. I love listening to audiobooks, especially. A, it has to be very good content that resonates with me. That is an area of my life that I want strengthened. And B, the problem is sometimes you'll find this book that you're recommended to read or whatnot, and it's all really hyped up, and then I'll listen to the sample. And the narrator, be it either the author itself or somebody that they speak for the author, is really bad. And okay, let me rephrase that. They don't have any energy. That's what I consider bad narrating. You got to have energy. That's just to me. That's
my last narrator, and he flew the coop on me. He flew the coop on me. He decided not to work with me, not because of anything bad. It's because he didn't want to do a woman's book. And my last book, if you listen to it, he didn't have enough energy. He didn't have enough energy.
Yeah.
So I see where you get your problem out, because most of these books don't have enough energy. My audio narrator now, who I'm actually calling tomorrow, Friday, and saying I will send you the manuscript and we'll do that. And so I will get that ball rolling, and it usually takes 3 weeks. And I'm sorry, you guys, I don't designate the prices on my audiobooks. Audible does, stupidly. Audible does. So if you see a $17 audiobook from Win, that wasn't Win's decision. That was Audible's decision, and I don't know why they do that. But my next narrator, and I have talked to my narrator to make sure she's good. I've physically spoken to her by phone, and my next narrator has enough energy to do this book. And now that it's out, and now that it's claiming on now that I have to claim it on Amazon, I can move forward. So I'll start that process tonight or tomorrow if I have time, and then I will let you guys know how the audiobook is going. But when the Heart of Scoliosis comes out, and I'll be working on the Heart of Scoliosis along with Simply Silly. Thank you very much. Simply Silly is going to be like it sounds. It's going to be Simply Silly how to write a book. Because you guys, and I don't get you guys think it's fascinating that I write books using Siri, and I write books using my iPad and my iPhone. And if I get a new laptop, my Siri wouldn't be on my laptop. And I'm also acquiring Dragon Naturally Speaking next Thursday. Oh my God, that's been a long time coming. They finally built that for the Mac. And so I'm so happy, and I'm so happy that Vocational Rehab stepped up to the plate and bought me that one. So I am so happy to be now acquiring Dragon Naturally Speaking. So maybe I would use Dragon Naturally Speaking on my laptop and just transfer it over to a Google Doc and then continue with Siri, because Siri works out of the box. Dragon Naturally Speaking, you have to train.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, that's what I'll probably do is use Google Docs in conjunction with, yes, that's what I'll do. I figured this out on this podcast. Thank you very much. So I'll use Google Docs in conjunction with Dragon Naturally Speaking and Siri.
Okay. Whatchamacallit? I didn't know that Audible determines the prices for you of your book. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wonder what they base
They do. I don't know. I haven't figured that quite out yet. And the company I use is Amazon-owned company called ACX.com. ACX.com. And so, yes. And Simply Siri may be narrated by yours truly. I haven't decided Simply Siri. I was going to start Simply Siri as soon as I got Dragon Naturally Speaking, but I'm thinking, why am I writing a book about Siri without using Siri, whatever nuts? No, so I'm going to use both to write Simply Siri, because, as I said, you have to train Dragon to recognize your speech patterns. And the last time I used Dragon was in 2006 on a PC, and she actually did a pretty good job recognizing my speech. And trust me, I have spent many, many years before speech dictation was a thing. I spent many, many years, and I think my family spent over $1,000 on speech dictation for me, and it wasn't working until Siri came along.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
speak text is very important. That's how I wrote my book. I mean,
I have got to see whether Dragon Naturally Speaking on Mac is high quality to Siri.
Yeah, it's I like to use my true voice when I'm writing words, and I can't write as fast as I think or feel. That's why I like speaking into the phone to use it.
I can't.
And you cannot develop the personality of the book in itself if you can't write that fast. I mean, at least I cannot. And that also lends to an audiobook, right? I think an audiobook should be entertaining and informative at the same time in order for it to be effective. I don't think it can be effective if you're listening to somebody that's equal to watching paint dry. You can take a fascinating.
I love you, Mel.
You can take a fascinating topic, but if your subject matter expert isn't speaking with it, to it with any passion, then that becomes that doesn't even become a story, because I believe everything that's written is basically a story. If somebody writes, you can take a manual of anything that's technological, and if you have the right reader, if you had the right audio reader, narrator, it would actually be interesting, right? I mean, at least I think I can do it.
Yes.
I can definitely do it. I've done live webinars before and video trainings where I actually read what I wrote and then speak of each paragraph or dissect it and whatnot, and it comes out great. I get great reviews from it because I'm able to put my personality behind it. And there's nothing worse than looking forward to a book, and all of a sudden you listen to the sample and you'll go, and I'll say to myself, there's no way that I'm going to spend half an hour on the road that I'm looking forward to listening to this book and not listen to it.
Luckily for you guys, my first audio narrator, and I may get it back. Depending on how the Heart of Scoliosis does. I may just bite the bullet and get it back. Luckily, my first time out of the shoot, I had a really, really, really good audio producer. So if you really want to go listen to my true story in all its glory, go pick up I Come a Win on audio tape. My God, my audio producer did it with enough passion, and this is going, even though my next audio producer is different, she has enough passion where my original audio producer did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely takes a team of people to do it, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And with ACX, you can actually pay them a 50-50 split, or you can actually pay them up front. With this audio producer right now, I'm actually doing a 50-50 split. I'm actually paying her just to make. She wants me to pay her. Most audio producers want royalties up front just to make sure that nothing happens, but we've agreed to a 50-50 split, and then I will also pay her because I feel like it's only right.
Right, yeah, and you're incredibly loyal that way. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you. You're very fair.
Oh, I tried to be.
No, you don't try. You do. Actions are everything. Now, that's another thing. When people say, well, I'm trying, like if I compliment somebody and I say, hey, you look terrific. I haven't seen you in a while. What are you doing? You look awesome. And, and I'm really celebrating them. And they sheepishly say, well, I'm trying. Or they don't really celebrate it along with themselves. And I have this, and I just feel compelled to correct them and say, no. You're not trying. Don't hide behind the effort. You are doing. So it's I celebrate the fact that you do that. So, but anyway,
well, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Very welcome. So okay, so there's the quality, there's the must-dos, there's the process, and whatnot. There is the making sure that you got the right cover artwork. It's because at the end of the day, you're only as good as the product you put out, right?
Yeah.
So, perception's everything. You know what I mean? There's a visual perception first, and even to the most astute reader. You know what I mean? I mean, if you looked at, I would imagine if you were a book collector, right? If I were going to get a first edition, I don't know, whatever author out there, Shakespeare or whatever the case may be, like something really, really rare, it's part of the appeal, wouldn't it be? Just the beautiful leather bounding of it all, or anything like that. Does that matter as far as the book is concerned? When it comes to rare books.
The beauty of a rare book, yes, but
in a sense, or is it more the content that's important?
In a sense, but it's more the content. And now I can actually announce, which is I'm going to say this will lead into our next segment here. I actually, by accident, cornered my local library to order my book, and I left the message for the woman who is the director of programming at my local library, and I said I would be happy to come in to do an author signing, and the woman who orders books on a daily basis goes, sure, I'll order your book, new books for the library. The library's out there, I'm happy. So hopefully that works. I have not seen an order come in, but you never know you will never know, and I will follow up with them next week, next Monday. This only happened yesterday, only because I was trying to book a room for a meeting, and I thought, hey, why not ask? And they said yes, but I will follow up with them next week and see what happens. So there's a good networking thing. Ask your local library if they can order your book too, and they're not going to order 20 copies of it, but at least they'll have 2 copies. And of course, when I did my original book signing of I Come a Win, I had over 100 copies, and I gave all those copies away. We also we also had wine and cheese, food. That was food. my dad graciously did that. The Aspen Club provided the Aspen Club, which is no longer in existence. It was really good at providing spaces at that time. But I would suggest to you guys, you contact your local library and see what they can do.
That's great advice. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I only by accident did a person say, look, I'm trying to meet with you. Let's meet at the library. And then it dawned on me, look, I have a book. I need to promote this book. And so I contacted them, and they said yes. And so I'll follow up with them next week. But the local library is one of those places that is dying, but it's still in existence. So I would recommend, if you're really looking for something and you don't want to throw a huge book launch party, I would recommend you contact your local library and say, look, I'll come in and do book signing, and luckily kids can read my books, like 7th and 8th graders, and the occasional 3rd grader can read my books too. So my books are family friendly. They're not erotica. They're not adult content only. And so, except one of my books is adult content only, just because I felt like I should write an adult only book on marijuana. Thank you very much. That one is in the process of being worked. And so that is my only adult content book. And so I take the cover down to make Amazon happy. But basically, all my books are kids friendly. And even if the local library wants that one, the book of marijuana, I would be happy to do a book signing for that too, because you never know who will come out of the woodwork and support you if they know they're at the local library. I mean, when I did my original book signing, and I maybe in the next couple of years I'll do another one. And when I fly to the West Coast, hint, hint, I'm actually going to do a small book signing there too. And so you never know who comes out of the woodwork. You never know who reads the local paper. I actually put my book signing in the local Aspen Times, and people showed up from reading the ad. And when I do the book signing at the library, once they get the books in, I will also put the ad in the local paper, and we'll figure it out from there.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh.
Awesome.
And
why not?
Why not? Why not? You never know who will say yes and who will say no.
Right. Absolutely.
But the other thing I wanted to tell you is, when you self-publish a book, and this is not only me, you have taken on another full-time job. I took on, by accident, another full-time job when I was 23 years old. Because you have to market the book, you have to make sure everything's perfect, and then writing the book is the easy part, the cover's the easy part, the formatting's the easy part, the uploading is a little bit of the challenging part, but the most challenging part is marketing the dang book to get it to sell.
To get it to sell, right. Right.
Yeah.
So what are the must-dos in marketing? Or okay, let me rephrase that. What should you not do when you're marketing your book?
Don't hide your books. I have told you guys about 2 books that will, both of them, simply silly, and they're hard to scoliosis will start writing themselves via me tomorrow, and then December 1, and then I will make it so they come out in May, and then I have my book coming back to me, my autobiography coming back to me on December 10th, and then that I will either ask my dad or my boss to write the intro to that one. Probably my dad, which that will be Mr. Softy writing the intro. He'll probably get a kick out of writing an intro for my book, and I'll ask probably my dad. So watch out. You'll cry at the intro because he's going to cry as he's writing it, I know. So watch out, you guys. If you don't want a strong intro, give it to my dad. And ask him to write the intro, and he's Mr. Softy. And so I'll probably get my boss to do the hardest scoliosis because we're talking about common disease, more common than CT, and my dad would be tickled pink if I asked him. He loves my writing, so why not have him do a public intro? Although you guys will need a Kleenex box, I'm telling you right now. And so he's a gentle giant when it comes down to it. And so I would say if you're going to do an intro and if you're going to promote the book, pick someone who knows you like the back of their hand. So when they read the manuscript, they can automatically take off on the intro and surprise you. And intro's an option. And I would say start telling people about your books. And that's how you get marketing. I already have banners. I already have Facebook banners. I already have Twitter banners. I just haven't started using them because I am reworking my original book right now. And so to make it better, not worse. And so I am going to start using that next week. But they say the marketing experts tell me, and granted, I know marketing experts out the yin, and they say 2 years in advance. So I am doing the Heart of Scoliosis starting tomorrow, and it will probably be out in the next 2 years, if not May.
That's pretty awesome. All right.
So
okay.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good coverage of that whole topic. So tell me about this. What did you want to talk about regarding, if you don't mind me switching gears here, about the Matt Lauer thing?
No, not at all.
You had some thoughts about that. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I think what he did, and he's the second journalist that got caught, and I think everyone says they feel sorry for him, and he this morning came out with an apology statement, and my dad, speaking of my dad again, he goes, is he really sorry? He's sorry for the $2.5 million paycheck he's going to miss. And so Matt Lauer, and this is public knowledge, Matt Lauer cheats on his wife very often, and what Matt Lauer did was nasty, and I think that each and every woman and men should step up if they have abuser, just like I did, whether it's emotional abuse or sexual abuse or sexual harassment. I think everyone needs to step up and talk to their abuser if they can, or tell someone in confidence. I did. I told my dad, as I told you guys last week. My mother didn't see what was going on, bless her heart, and she didn't see a lot of things. Like, frankly, not to say that I don't love her, but she didn't see what was going on. And this happens all the time to able-bodied and the disabled. And it's bananas what's going on. I mean, two journalists get caught within a week of each other, and I don't like how the Today Show is treating this. I think they're just pushing it under the rug, but I think women and the occasional men should step up and tell them and tell their story and tell their abusers, hey, what you're doing is nasty, and always trust your gut. I remember I was actually traveling with my abuser, don't ask, actually ask, and then I was actually traveling with my abuser from Washington, D.C. to Denver, and at Washington, D.C., this was after 9/11, and in Washington, D.C., and they actually did it to me. I was traveling with my girlfriend, and they actually did it to me again, and TSA keeps asking me, and they'll probably ask me again, do you want to be pulled off into a separate area to get patted down? Of course, TSA and me don't get along very nicely. TSA makes me pat down the whole wheelchair, get out of my wheelchair, pat down my shoes, because they think I'm carrying a bomb. Basically, they think people in wheelchairs are carrying bombs, and moms are carrying bombs. But my point is that TSA said, do you want to be patted down in a separate room? And my first response in this was in Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C., a couple of weeks after 9/11. Because I went to my first conference after 9/11, and I said, no, thank you. And my abuser at the time, my boss, just looks at me like, you're a minor, you should be following TSA's rules. And I'm like, no, thank you, because TSA can do some nasty stuff to you if you're not careful. And us as women have to be careful, and those of us that travel have to be careful as women. So I would think, if you don't trust your gut, get out of there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's traveling could be a pain sometimes, right? I can only imagine. But in regards to Matt and Charlie Rose, I mean, I'll admit I was pretty stunned myself. They are two different journalists, two different markets that they serve, two different demographics. I must tell you that I've watched countless Charlie Rose interviews on PBS, and I always liked his black background and round coffee table or round dining table kind of format where he would speak with his guests. I thought it was very intimate and very connecting. And then Matt, just being a great personality and just the right fit. And, I was a bit disappointed when I read that. I feel for all parties. I don't absolve them of what they did or what they've allegedly done. But when you have multiple people coming forward and accusing the same pattern, there's just really no way around it. You know what I mean? So, I hope there's healing, there's love and healing in everybody. And I hope they all grow from this and learn from this. And there's obviously a shift in the universe right now with all this that's going on. Obviously, not starting with Harvey Weinstein, but I think he was one of the first big ones to be exposed. And then there were a couple of politicians, right? And it's just a mess.
Yeah.
It just really is.
it's sad.
But I don't feel, and I will tell you this, I watched the Today Show on 9/11, and I watched the first plane fly in, and I remember like it was yesterday. But I don't feel sorry for Matt Lauer. I just think what he did several years ago to Ann Curry started this whole thing. He ousted Ann Curry like there was no tomorrow, and I don't feel sorry for Matt Lauer as a journalist or viewer, and I'm coming at this with journalistic training and I used to be coming at this from a viewer, and I don't, and excuse my French, but I think what the Today Show is doing now is BS, because I think they want to push things under the rug, and I don't feel sorry for that. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Now, Charlie Rose, I never had the opportunity to sit down and watch Charlie Rose on PBS. Actually, on the occasion I did, but I think that every abuser who is abusing needs to get their act together and come clean, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, or whether it's sexual harassment. And it happens all the time, as I said. It happens to the able-bodied, and my biggest fear is it will happen more and more to the disabled if the disabled don't step up and say, this is not right, this is not right. And I haven't had a chance to necessarily speak to my abuser. I don't know if my abuser is still around, but my emotional abuser, but all this stuff is hashing up memories of me being emotionally abused. And it's not fun. It's not fun. I mean, it's not fun. That's why.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, that's okay. But once you get emotionally, sexually harassed once, and someone tries to do it again, it will bring up all these memories, and that's why I'm becoming one of the many reasons why I'm becoming a journalist. And I think we need to do a podcast episode. I need to do a podcast episode with someone why I'm becoming a journalist, because now I'm seeing what I can do, not only as a citizen, but really as a journalist. And I'm going to pick a person to interview me and have them do a deep dive on how I need and want to become a journalist. I mean, this is my passion, and this is what I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. And that's why I'm so concentrating on school. How it's going to work is school, taking care of myself, books, and then the occasional podcast. So you guys, and that won't be changing until 2018, but you guys will hear a change. And those of you who come to my book signing, you guys are not necessarily welcome to my graduation. Not because I don't love you, it's because they do. It's because they do 2 graduation ceremonies, and so I might be at the early one, I might be at the later one, and there's a limited amount of tickets, and people have told me they want tickets already, and I'm like, wait, you guys, I have to see how many tickets I can get. So you guys will be welcome to the book signing, and that's my other announcement too. No graduation for you guys, except for those who really, really, really want to come. I know Mel really, really wants to come, and I'm going to try and work my magic. I am actually going to try and work my magic with one of my professors who's coming on the podcast, and I'm going to say, look, a friend of mine really, really wants to come. How can we make this work? Because I'm not working it with my academic advisor. My academic advisor has been already too nice to me. And so if I ask her for one more favor, she's going not like me. So I will not ask. I will ask them when in the system. But I'm sorry, you guys. They told me this, and I'm like, oops, what am I going to tell my parents on the West Coast? And so that's why I've decided we'll do the book signing on the West Coast. So you guys can actually come and hug me and ask me questions.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be fun.
Yes. But,
okay.
So
there you
that's
go.
all I have to say, and enjoy your day and enjoy your evening now. And so we will speak to you guys next week. And since I'm going to be a little bit under a rock doing this final homework assignment / final presentation, I have delegated subject matters to Mel. And so, Mel, you're on what is the subject for next week, if you have it already. And so we can tell the fans what is going on. And yes, we're going on Spotify. So far, we have gotten 9 downloads of our back catalog, which is pretty good for a little old podcaster. And so far we have at least 70,000 downloads altogether and 9 downloads on Spotify. So we need to pick up the Spotify range, but that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to be talking about, especially, with December coming up, we're going to talk about a couple of things, reflection and action. Reflection for 2017 and action for 2018. We're going to talk about looking at this previous year from a bird's eye view, kind of pumping the brakes a little bit and seeing what effective, actionable steps we can take so that you have an effective 2018 and you don't set yourself up for failure before it even starts. We're going to look at, how you should prioritize, your alignment within yourself, emotionally and mentally, so that you can be very effective in your professional and personal life, and as well as your relationship with yourself and with the people that you're closest to. We're definitely going to work on that. Yeah. So.
Well,
there you go. That's what's on tap.
That's always helpful to self-reflect and have a strong 2019, because God knows it's December already, and God knows I'll be on the block until January to figure this out.
Oh, we'll be with that. We'll be with you, Win. Don't worry.
Oh, it won't be that bad. And
you're not alone. We got you. Don't worry.
I know you guys. I know you guys got me, and the reason why I was so inclined to be transparent with you, and I was transparent with my team, and my dad didn't even yell at me when I said I kind of screwed up in my second class, and my dad goes, "You work hard enough, you can pull this grade back up and see where it ends." And what I've learned today is it's not my final grade, and so I can pull this grade back up and see where it ends, and if I have to take this one class over again, I will.
Perfect. You know what? You'll get through it. Flying colors.
We'll get through it.
All right.
And we'll get through it together, you guys. And this podcast should be up tonight if if my house is quiet enough to put a podcast up, and so I'll be actually doing something with the podcast with homework next week. They have suggested that as part of my final project, I have been creating event and created menswear as my final project, and now they want me to use my social media to promote the event, even though it's a homework assignment. But I will be doing that. I will be using the podcast as part of my social media. I will be using Twitter and the podcast, not necessarily Facebook, because I'll go on and on and on. But I will be using Twitter and the podcast. So be on the lookout for me saying something next week, even though this is a homework assignment. And last time, one of the students goes, well, that really scares me. They said, well, put it as a homework assignment. I'm like, yeah. Luckily, I have told my fan base that I'm already doing this journalism degree. So for me, it won't be that hard. For the rest of you, I wish you good luck. And so, so that being said, watch the podcast feed. If I mention something about a homework assignment, just bear with me. And as I said, I will have one of my professors on a podcast in December, so that will be a very interesting episode, and I will be completely transparent with you guys. And we appreciate your support, and I appreciate your support in this snag, and we'll get through this journalism degree together, and then you guys can all come hug me on the West Coast. And so we appreciate your support, Mel and I do, and I appreciate your support with my interviews, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye, you guys.
Take care.